This is Good Morning Uganda. This is Good Morning Uganda. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, every day you have an opportunity to see yourself through. With the biggest achievement of late is ensuring that you do not contract COVID-19. It may not be going to work because some places are closed. We are in a partial lockdown. But what you must consider as the biggest achievement is staying safe at a time of the pandemic, where we know treatment is very expensive. I also know that, yes, we've had enormous numbers of recoveries, but we've also registered a couple of deaths as well. So stay safe, and you can only do that by ensuring you perfect the simple things that save life. Simple things indeed. Having your mask on, ensuring you desist from crowded places, a regular wash of your hands or sanitizing so that you do not touch the soft, and avoiding touching the soft parts of your body. Most of it comes to the head, that is the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, because that is the only way then you transmit the virus into your respiratory system. And when it affects that, the high chances that you require oxygen, then you have breathing complications, and a couple of your organs that would be destroyed, and finally you succumb to COVID-19. Once again, I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonitono with my colleague Felix Nkunda. As we are expecting, that is the Assistant Commissioner, Dr. Alfred Uruware, who is in charge of immunization and vaccine at the Ministry of Health, will be joining us anytime from now to give us more of the updates regarding the vaccination exercise. Remember, the second bunch of vaccines arrived, and people received the first jab have been getting their second jab. We also know that in the near future, we're expecting over 280,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine that will be coming into the country. So there's so much happening. We had a week that was Monday to Friday of vaccinating people, mostly within Kampala, and we hope you got your second jab. But as we wait for Dr. Alfred, we also want to take a look at how far we've gone in implementing SOPs in this country. Felix, one of the issues that has become common is police engaging in running battles with people coming to town. It was yesterday, it was the previous day, and we expect the same to be today. Well, in the bid to enforce SOPs of staying home, let's avoid crowds in the city center.
If you remember, most times the best way to cause relation into any form of research, you must benchmark, or you must relate or correlate, if I may call it. You remember the last lockdown, people stayed home. No one.
Actually, they did.
No one.
Yes.
It was a new thing for very many people. It was a new thing, unheard of. It was really a new thing. This time around, it's not a new thing. But believe you and me that there are some sectors that have been closed since then up till. What am I saying? I'm simply saying that there's reason. And as I said, I think yesterday, we need to examine and look at the reason as to why people consistently put their lives in harm's way. There's been this whole talk about the cash relief fund and what and all that.
Which we were told by the Prime Minister that either Wednesday,
which is tomorrow,
or Thursday, people begin receiving messages on their phones.
But I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that will do nothing in stopping people's defiance against some of these. It won't do much. The one thing that I know as a matter of fact, Robert, is that people have some level of desperation. But also, they have noticed what we call a loophole in enforcement of these SOPs. as one of the statements, like yesterday, I had an interface with one policeman who stopped me, and he was a bit chummy, trying to talk, telling me, but you people, you be there, then you bash the police, you say police does this, and I listened. But you know, once people notice that there's, you know, this time around the army has not been involved in the enforcement. If it has, it is very, very minute, like it was last time. Remember last time we saw LDU and the army on the streets.
The visibility was
quite vivid. But this time around, because it's police, maybe we should start to think that what is the, that's why I used the other two words in the beginning. Try to identify the relationship. What is what is the relationship between the people and how they behave when it is army enforcing, and why people behave a different way when it is
when people
the
see
police
the army, it is
enforcing.
hakuna mchezo.
Now, even away from the hakuna michezo bits, yesterday evening I was somewhere and a police officer came telling people, it was coming to 8. I was driving by, I stopped to buy something. Then they were saying, you go home. When come house again, I put the namzanya. You mag in the watch tower. Jokingly, you want to, you know. Now, we should understand what is the relationship between enforcement of police and defiance of the population vis-a-vis enforcement of the army and compliance of the population. That should be something we want to look at. One, in my opinion, from the few things that I have noticed, is the civility level of police has continuously caused its failure in terms of enforcement. Our police is so civil. In fact, you can't put, there's nowhere for you where you put a line between a police officer and a civilian.
Being pro people, would that
like
be...
For example, I think a couple of days ago, I bypassed, in the evening, rush hour, everyone is rushing, Butungulu Nyanya, and I saw a traffic officer, a comrade, also in the same argument, very well dressed in uniform, with his, and his reflector, you get the point. Now, he's the same person who's supposed to tell the same people that it is running late, we should do what? Believing. So for me, that got me thinking. When you go to these bars where people used to drink, they will tell you,
Never found.
You get the point. When you go to any other places, the severity level of our police force is so much that people relate with them, not at enforcement level, but as
Comradeship.
comrade level.
I'm seeing Ankunda telling me, you cannot cross here, Chirabu.
Felix Vera, you get the point. Now, that's why I'm saying that for you to, you must form a study into what is understanding, relationship. What happens here when it's the police and the wananchi, that doesn't happen when it is the army, and you get the point.
I mean, so, these are strange guys that you see coming from a barracks, they have been deployed.
When do you ever see an army officer
loitering,
buying butungulu?
Moving around.
Butungulu for who?
When they come, strangers to you.
Now,
yes.
This person you bought butungulu from is the one you're supposed to enforce against at the road block. Hey, mama namu over you get the point. And that has affected even the level of investigation of cases in this country, enforcement, and the failure of criminality to come down in communities. It's the same reason. In Uganda, the police has emanyidwa. There's that familiarity with police and the communities.
Which they are saying they are running away from the traditional rudimentary ways, and now police are more of being pro-people, within the people, better understand them.
And that's why
despite the fear of
you've
police.
had many cases where you see crimes have connived, have an element of connivance with officers in police. Because they live in the same locality of your forum homes, and your neighbor is the OC, you is a DPC. That is not the way to go. Officers have their place. Because the more they relate with the people on a daily, they cease to have, it's just, for example, Robert, let's imagine between you and me, if it would be very hard, let's imagine, even if you became my boss at this level, at whatever point where we are, unless I'm so professional or you're so professional, to break out of that friendship and do things differently. Now,
to good the movie.
Yeah, and yet forgetting maybe I'm your subordinate. It will affect my work with you because of that, again, familiarity. Now, I think when you want to talk about enforcement of SOPs, I have seen, and there's something that makes me, amuses me. I can tell you the times where you have roadblocks active, where they are not, and where they are, and when they are not.
Actually, you've mastered the art.
Yes.
If I'm to move, you move
around 11.
I'll tell you that actually, if I'm going to say matching, let me just give a place I'm used to. I'll know if I dodge Clock Tower, I can take them Zambia. Then there is that road after sharing, before you get to sharing in Zambia. Ingirirao. Now there's this Chibuye. There is that roadblock at the police post. Go up, slope through, then you hit Entebbe Road.
So,
and sometimes you know,
but even away from
dodging,
when you go to roadblocks, the police, for example, they don't restrict. They put someone there since 6 a.m. Supposed to be there up to 8. Now, these people, for them, I think naturally, I've not looked at their contract letters, what time they are supposed to work, but naturally, if they know they have to be off work at 5, they will abandon the roadblock and they will go home.
There's some hours where they're just the bulkheads, but there's nobody there.
There's no one in the morning and at night. So none has taken. That's why people, by the way, let me tell you, people move at night. Really, you will never find an officer on a roadblock at night. Akuna. I'm being honest, because sometimes we leave work here at 8.
Sometimes they come very, very, very
in the few
early.
places, of course, where we pass. There, I can't speak for places where I've not passed, but the few places I know. If you want to drive smoothly, go around 11 a.m., 11 there. Those guys are tired. Yakedewu, every car. So, all these things feed back into enforcement. That what is, you see, you look at, when you're looking at officers, don't look at them as supernatural or robots or what. Look at them as someone who could have slept hungry, someone who could have left home without anything for his children or her children to eat, someone who doesn't know what they are going to take home. Look at them just like all of us, or probably even worse than some of us. That as much as you have, some of them are sick. Some of them are treating their parents or their spouses of COVID, maybe. What is the performance?
Yesterday I met one at the roadblock, a colleague of mine, and told me, hey, Chirabo, I'm wondering, we are not vulnerable. But you're earning
Can you
at such a
imagine?
time. He was, this is a police officer.
Can you imagine?
I said, at least,
Because
because
that's the truth of the matter.
I said, but you guys, you're continuing to earn.
It's sad, and now these are people who are supposed to enforce SOPs. You see, you're asking for so much where you're giving so little. Like how we used to say that you cannot start talking about milking a cow you don't feed. By the way, we need to get to hit the reality of the matter and appreciate that these people are not they are not they are not molded. These officers are human. Chidabo, as you cry, they cry. As you feel pain, they also feel. But when you get them, times of COVID have not spared anyone. They have children that have not been going to school. They have loans. Nobody knows. They have rent, just like anyone. So the people you want to enforce these COVID guidelines are people who are also suffering, probably even worse than the people they are enforcing against. Because Chirabo is going to walk to town and maybe sell 3-4 kilos of what, somewhere how people are doing some shops.
Then head back home.
And walk back home. Now, a police officer is going to stand at the whole day. That's why sometimes you end up in corruption. You end up telling you openly, That's the reality.
And
so
that is one of the things that we've talked about. We saw last time, I think it was the 10th Parliament, saying even curfew should be removed because of the exorbitant fees being charged in form of corruption. Yesterday I was talking about my colleagues who are in a union that brings together, association brings together truck drivers, and they are saying that we're having a challenge. The president okayed our trucks to move on the road, but at every road block, at least you find someone who will openly tell you, imagine a police officer asking, not commanding, but saying, in good faith, and you also understand that maybe this people should be there. So they're saying, but this is also another problem. One of the challenges we are facing. Our viewer, we are looking at enforcement of the SOPs. But also, Felix, rightly you've said we've given the plight of the police officer. Now let's go to individual responsibility. Because yes, we know as Ugandans that you should not move beyond times of curfew. You know, at time you should, that when it comes to 7, you must be home. You know, as a Ugandan, that there's no reason you should go to a bar. I was very shocked over the weekend when I was speaking to local OSGD and told me they had arrested about 8 people found in bars drinking. Can you imagine at such a time? Drinking. You know, you're not supposed to hold house parties. They raided a few places where they found people still having house parties at night, and they are celebrating individual responsibility when it comes to these SOPs.
You know, Robert, we are all animals of what has been tamed of us. It's hard for you to find a dog behaving like a goat, or you may never find one, unless it was born and was raised with
the
goats. You get the point. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It never falls far from the tree. Our people are simply a reflection of the kind of society we have made. And I can't say that without even fear. I can say that without fear of contradiction. The society of Ugandans simply learns these things from the leaders. The leaders. I'm being honest. If you're to be honest with yourself, the people who have broken or abused these guidelines are not necessarily those people my brother Luke said or talks about, or the police arrested, are only unfortunate that because they are in lousy places, I may say. Let me call them. But when, and I want to stand to be corrected, has police ever raided a bar in Kololo, the Muyengas?
Or if you look at the 1,425 arrested last week, if you
did you see a roadblock in Kololo? I have nothing against people who stay in Kololo. I'm just giving them
the high-end places.
In Muyenga, how many did they arrest? In Munyonyo, how many did they arrest?
Just law-abiding?
Could be. Could be. I'm also simply asking.
They don't have reasons that would make them violent.
That's why I'm saying that, no, it's because even their cars maybe have lead cars, they have a soldier in the car, maybe they have a police officer already. The roadblock, they just salute, even if he's going to susu, even if he's going to do nothing, even if because they have the opportunity to use state machinery for their own interest. Now, I'm not saying people who are abusing SOPs are doing a good thing. And I don't want to focus on the people who are in the bars, but I want to focus on the people who are fighting in all ways to survive. Chidabo, it's unfortunate, and thank God that maybe you've not seen someone die of hunger. But if you let callers call in today and you put that question to them, you will cry. It is happening. COVID, you will skip COVID and die.
At my place, I had to call for police enforcement, being one of the local leadership, where people had started making it a habit. I helped one and went back and said, no, others began coming until I had to call the community leaders.
And that is Kampala.
Just give me someone to stop people coming home.
And that is Kampala. Now, go into these slums of, you see, human nature is triggered by something. For some of you who have done a bit of psychology and human behavior, there's a trigger. There's a trigger. Some people do them stubbornly, but they can't beat you today. Tomorrow, you're sure they are going to beat you, stop you, but you say what you want. honestly speaking, since last year, March, up till today, people's lives have changed for the worse, except for the few who have earned out of COVID. But the bigger population is suffering.
There's an assumption.
I want to give you an example.
Gotten alternative sources of income.
But let me give you an example, Chirabo. These girls who used to work in bars, the waiters, the waitresses.
Some are cooking tea, boiling tea.
Wow. How many people can cook tea in a place? That can only be done by one person. Don't tell the people. I want you to tell me, looking at now people who are teachers in nurseries. Nursery. Habari wasomesa toddlers, our young kids, baby, top, middle, and pre. Where are they?
What are they doing at such a time?
For 1 year and a half of 2 years.
How have they survived?
Let's imagine the husband was a teacher of nursery and the wife. You have 3 children.
The wife was simply not working and they were all relying on the
I want you to ask yourself, Chirabo, where are they today? Who's talking about them?
I've heard a few people and they claim that most of these people, human beings, when squeezed with a situation, they find alternatives. Recently, I watched a very annoying interview, but good it wasn't on UBC, where one of the ministers alluded to the fact that human nature, at such a time, you can't convince us that there are people who are working in bars, people who've been out of work for this period, and they have not found alternative sources. He said, before COVID, you are not working. Even in COVID, you are not working. Now you're looking upon relief. Before and after, your situation was the same.
You know, you must allow me to say this, and I want to say it in my most known traditional language, that anyway, what I'm trying to say is that it is easier for the lads and dons to speak down on the people because they don't relate.
Maria Tonet, if you
Maria
don't have
Tonet.
this, yes.
But Robert, and it's painful that people don't meet, they don't interact with these people. But if you had an opportunity, you open these lines of UBC right now. In the papers today, and I can even show you today, and a lady of 87 years moved to the RDC. She already moved and said, guess what? I've come to ask Sentes and Nabanja Zijadi. 87. And they were just supporting her. She could hardly walk. But why do you think she had to go that? You see the cry of people about this money for the government is not a fallacy. It's not a lie.
And for me, I reached a point, Felix,
it is the
where I'm
evidence.
like, I wish government did not make this pledge. Not because I don't see the need of the people, but the challenges it's posing even to the local councils. People were flooding homes, saying, put us on the list, put us on the list. But take a call, like, no, all this. So yes, there is so much need for relief. People are really in a dire situation. And also we must understand that the times are hard, but we must also abide by the SOPs. We are placed between a rock and a hard what? Because yes, one thing we know we can reduce the curve is if we obey the SOPs, if we ensure that we fight this congestion and ensure that at least we'll be able to reduce the curve, then maybe business goes back to normal. And we must accept the 42 days have given us an opportunity where we are seeing now deaths have reduced, people testing positive have also reduced, so we are moving in a positive direction. But still, Felix has a very valid point, that as we are moving towards this in terms of health, then we also have issues of people starving, issues of people wanting to win bread, and that is why they are violating some of these SOPs, a big number.
You see, Robert, even something that if the media was kind enough to also give us some of the statistics of, and we need people, if you make an evaluation, both government and the media can interest themselves to make an evaluation into the other adverse effects of COVID-19. Away from death, the oxygen, the beds, the other adverse effects of COVID-19. You can relate that with the likes of the lockdown. You can relate that with loss. Between last lockdown, you remember that Over 1,000 companies did what?
Closed.
Where are those people? So when you're talking about enforcing, Chirabo, I have seen women. I don't know how better to say this. I hope I wouldn't insult anyone. I have seen, okay, the kind of people today selling masks on the roads of Kampala. You see a man of about 45 years, 50 years, I could take a hanger catch, masks, running after cars. 45 years. That should send a message. We used to know people selling byangwe, sponges in this town to be young kids. Kati osanga omusajja 50 years atunda byangwe, selling sponges. You go here at Yard, go down here at Electoral Commission, you go Yusufule Road, you go at Mulago roundabout. It is no longer these kids who run after you with apples. 50 years. That should signal something. The people you're talking about who are walking to town, Balagawa, those are the people. They used to be employed by the 1,000 farms that closed, NGOs that closed. I know these places that closed. So we must agree, Robert, that there's a problem, but we must also technically be able to address this problem, not only challenging ourselves about SOPs.
Well, we'll take a break and we'll be joined by the Commissioner in charge of vaccination and immunization of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Alfred Urware, who will be joining us on set, and we will be driving more into the vaccination and the updates that we need to know. Let's first go for a short break and we'll return with Dr. on set.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
Until now, we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
No one is safe until everybody is safe. And what do we mean? until everybody has been vaccinated, then we assume and believe the world will go back to normal, because we'll be able to fight severe illness and death. Until that, yes, we may be having lockdowns, halting, then later opening up, and just finding how best we can manage or control the huge numbers of COVID-19. Now with me in studios is a man who has become a regular visitor here, and we want to commend him for that. Better late than never, but he's finally made it. That is Dr. Alfred Urware, Commissioner in charge of immunization and vaccine at the Ministry of Health. Doctor, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Chirabo.
We must believe maybe this has been you had a busy...
As usual. It was a busy day, and I had a small hitch on the way, so I delayed to arrive. So I apologize to the viewers for that hitch.
Well, Doctor, let's just head straight in the interest of saving some time. We want to look at an update on vaccination. We saw in Kampala and other parts you rolled out, that is for the second jab. How successful was this? What are some of the statistics regarding the exercise?
As usual, our cumulative number of doses we have now received as a country is 1,139,200 doses. As of now, we have successfully administered 1,027,000 doses. And out of these, 868,000 people have received first doses, and 158,700 have gotten fully vaccinated. So I think we are making progress, and I want to thank the public for the adherence to our broad guidelines. We had said these doses should be used as second doses, and the figures we're having are actually speaking to that. Out of the 62,000 people who have been vaccinated and reported to the center, 62,000, out of the 62,000, 54,000 received second doses.
54,000?
Yes, and it
out of the
out of the 62 people who have been vaccinated with the current doses, which were supplied, the 175. So it's only 8,000 who got first doses. So one of the important things in a response like this is adherence to instructions. Because we're dealing with the scarcity of vaccines, and the issue of categorizing people who are at the highest risk will be the mainstay of our response. So if you get compliance to this kind of instruction and people wait and comply, then we're on the right path. So I'm very happy to give this. Now, as we, in line with our design for the rollout of the vaccination exercise, all districts in Uganda received these vaccines, and therefore the vaccination activity is countrywide. And I'm also happy to report that the enthusiasm with which districts respond to the vaccines is different. For example, Rukunjiri has already exhausted all its doses. 100%. What we sent there, they have finished. Ruchiga has also finished. Terego, where I come from, is also finished. So I think this is pointing towards now the efficiency of the district systems to deploy the vaccines. And we also observed some districts around Karamoja area which had not started vaccination. Now our focus is on those districts, and the non-starting of vaccination in those areas were pegged on two things. Our delivery schedule to deliver the vaccines, not all the vaccines arrived at the same time, And also there were local challenges for the districts to put their teams together and respond. So those are management challenges which we are here to address.
Doctor, looking at the rollout, the ministry had said this is going to be a timely period. And in Kampala, it was basically from Monday to Friday. You said this is going to help proper monitoring and ensuring that there's proper accountability and knowing that a specific number of people has been immunized. So follow-up is very easy. Are we still seeing the vaccination exercise continuing? Did you phase it out in certain areas, regardless if the vaccines were all consumed or not?
So what we intended to communicate by that 1 week time interval was that these doses were giving a local government are few. It does not make sense for a district to spend 3 months giving out 1,000 doses. So what we are saying is we technically know that these doses which we have given to you, 1 week is enough to finish them. That was really the essence. But if there are operational challenges at the district and those doses they are not given out on time, then we do not take those balances to the store. So the district has to re-strategize to give. For example, Kampala City Authority received 56,000 doses. This was the district with the entity with the biggest number of doses, 56,000. And by yesterday, they had a balance of 15,000. So you can see they used, is that 40,000 plus? Doses were used in those 5 days. So now the authority is re-strategizing to see how do we exhaust the remaining 15,000 doses. So now it is the local entity which we guide to re-strategize. And we also know that Kampala City Authority has a human resource challenge.
Yes, I agree.
Because their staffing is very low for health workers. So they cannot effectively implement a campaign of this nature in this densely populated area. So we discussed with the authority and the UPDF to give their healthcare workers to vaccinate in the Kampala City Authority area, and I think it worked very well. But our planning did not extend beyond. So we may revert to the routine vaccination points to complete the remaining balances. But this is a decision for KCCA. Ours is to agree or disagree with their strategy.
Because I received a jab, but I saw a lot of people turning up. People were eager in Kampala. KCCA, where I went, there were huge numbers, and human resource was a problem. So definitely, I believe there are some people that are craving to get vaccinated, but the challenge is, how do they get this? Doctor, you were focusing on people who got the first jab, and they were getting their second jab. What is the fate of those that are eager to get vaccinated? Do we have hope in the near future? Where do they stand?
Okay, let me start from the last comment you made. For us, we monitor the public attitude towards vaccines. Our initial assessment showed that people in Mbarara City and Kampala City had a negative attitude towards vaccines.
Mbarara and Kampala.
Mbarara and Kampala. They had a very low attitude, close to 50%. But last week, we got a report from an independent group which did a similar assessment, and it focused on Kampala. 70% of the people in Kampala are ready to be vaccinated. So we will concentrate on this while we give time for the 30 to make up their mind. And we continue passing the message, and they will continue seeing for themselves the benefit of being vaccinated. So the demand for vaccines in Kampala is now not the issue. It is the supply which is limited. So it is time for people now to start appreciating that vaccines will not come the way measles rubella vaccine came, enough for everybody. The vaccines are going to come in phases. And each phase will come with instructions. Instructions which should be abided by. You know, it is one thing giving the instruction. It's another abiding by them. So those who are ready but they are constrained by shortage of vaccines need to understand that there is no intended injustice. It is the circumstances. If we had the vaccines, we would give all at once. So the vaccine, that we have aligned different routes for getting vaccines, and those vaccines will come, and once they come, we make an announcement and we will reach them. But that means social distancing, hand washing, and wearing of a mask must continue for those who are not yet due. It's painful. We're not happy about it, but there's little we can do about it.
Let's better understand, because Ugandans are wondering. I saw the committee that is of Parliament regarding health, and more so in specific in COVID-19, headed by that is Abdul Katuntu, wondering why haven't we purchased vaccines? We are relying on vaccines. All the vaccines so far we are getting, it was clear, our donation. What is hindering us, even when we've had various times monies allocated to purchase of vaccines, that we don't have what we've purchased as our own, and we are depending on those that are being donated to us?
Yes, I think this speaks to the bigger picture. Vaccines production, these are new vaccines manufactured by few factories, and each of those factories have limited production capacity. That is the starting point. Number two, 7 billion people are in line waiting for vaccines. Now the dynamics inside there. There are countries which pre-financed vaccine doses at the point of vaccine development, at the stage of expanding production capacities. They had secured the deals to get vaccines when even the vaccines were not there. They did not know whether this vaccine was going to become successful or it will fail. So at that point, they sacrificed their money to support research and development of vaccines. In other words, they are insiders in the vaccines business. So now that the vaccine is successful, naturally, they are saying now their taxpayers' money, which was used for supporting research, must now be used for vaccinating them. So we are not at the same level with them. So access to vaccines per 1 million people in Uganda were 1.8. But the US is 94.6. So we cannot compare ourselves with those countries. So I saw the concern of the members of parliament, chaired by Honorable Katuntu. They are asking the right questions. They are doing the right job. I think they will get the right information. The information is that the funds are there, yes, and all efforts have been made to get the money, and we have not been successful. And I think it will be the permanent secretary who will speak more authoritatively about this. But to the best of my knowledge, there is no need to be excited. The money is there. We are just stuck.
With where you can get the vaccines?
Yes, we have tried so many routes. You see, we come to the public when we see we have now got Chapa Mwengalo. When you get now things in your hands, that's when you can communicate. But if we are just chasing wild geese, we don't come here and say we are getting here, we have tried here, we have tried here. The public will just be exhausted. So for example, now the doses which we come, we tell you we're expecting this, even if it is a donation. It is until there is a pen to paper. Then we can release. But there are many other efforts which are being done.
Doctor, in the interest of time, let me have your final remarks to give way to sports.
Thank you, viewers. As we have always said, COVID-19 is going to be here with us. The control measures are not in the hands of government. The measures in the hands of every individual. It requires behavior change. It requires compliance with the SOPs. And it requires taking the interventions to prevent the disease like vaccines. And finally, when you have signs and symptoms of COVID-19, then it makes sense that you seek medical advice so that you're managed very well. So don't manage yourself, but you be managed by your medical health practitioners.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Dr. Alfred Durware, who is the Commissioner in charge of Vaccines and Immunization at the Ministry of Health, for having phone time, and we've discussed so much regarding vaccination. He says the power is in your hands to stay safe. Please, we know what to